What's going on, YouTube? So you probably don't need me to tell you that the Toyota RAV4 is the best-selling compact crossover in the US, and also one of America's most popular vehicles, period. However, sales figures aside, there is another product that often gets even more praise than it does, the Mazda CX-5. Its sales are a small fraction of the RAV4's. However, people in the know understand that this is certainly one of the top offerings in the class. But which one of these two is most deserving of your hard-earned money? Let's go ahead and find out. So to get things established here, let's quickly talk about the pricing and option levels of these two. For this comparison, we have the upper end trim levels of both, which means for the Mazda, we have the Grand Touring Reserve. This trim comes standard with a turbo engine and all-wheel drive, and our only option is the Soul Red paint. After destination, the total rings in at $36,980. Keeping things equivalent, we have the RAV4 XLE Premium, which starts at a lower price but has a lot of options to add to get to the same equipment level. All told, it finishes at about $300 more than the Mazda, for a total of $37,347. So with equally matched price tags, let's go ahead and see who's going to come out on top. So first we have the exteriors of these two crossovers, and boy are they different. The RAV4 takes a lot of inspiration from the 4Runner and has the tougher and more rugged look to it. The Mazda, on the other hand, has a sleek and upscale design with its U-shaped grille. That trim extends underneath of the headlights, which are fully LED and have an almost BMW-like appearance. The Toyota also has full LED headlights, however, its fog lights are halogen instead of LED on the Mazda. And as for the side and backs, the same design themes repeat, with the rugged and upscale themes. But besides for the subjective aspect of design, the features are equivalent, with partially LED taillights, dual chrome exhaust outlets, and 19-inch alloy wheels. However, I will mention that the Mazda can tow 25% more weight. Now checking out some of the individual odd and end features, both of their mirrors have heating and blind spot monitoring, but only the CX-5 has power folding. And, of course, for family vehicles, you want more than just blind spot monitoring. So you'll be happy to know that both crossovers have very comprehensive safety suites even on the base trims. They include full speed adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, and auto high beam headlights. And the last thing on the outside is that they share 3-year 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranties and 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranties. But Toyota does give you 2 years of complimentary maintenance, which Mazda does not. Anyway, that concludes the outside. So now let's check out the more important cabins before we take them out for a test drive. So first, walking up to these two, both crossovers have smart entry systems. However, only the RAV4 has a sensor behind the handle to unlock. But once we open up the doors, you'll see interiors that are both practical and upscale. Starting by talking about the seats themselves, both have 8 ways of adjustment, heating, and 2-person memory. However, the Mazda has a couple advantages since it has real leather instead of leatherette, and seat ventilation. Once inside the cabins, we can check out the broad category of material quality. While the RAV4 still has good materials for the class, the Mazda shoots for the near luxury category, with a lot more soft touch, stitched leather, and soft feeling materials. That's especially true of the door trims, where the RAV4 is almost entirely hard touch plastic. Looking at the gauges, Mazda gives customers an 8-inch reconfigurable display, whereas Toyota uses a smaller 4.2-inch display until you get to the Limited. Additionally, Mazda throws in a head-up display. Coming back to the steering wheels, both are leather wrapped with heating, and they have rain sensing wipers. But moving on to one of our more important elements, let's discuss storage. Now, many aspects of the CX-5 feel kind of like an Audi, but unfortunately the same can be said for this aspect. That's not to say it's bad, but the RAV4 certainly has more space at every step. Additionally, the Toyota includes wireless charging, which is something unavailable on the CX-5. Both of them have normal shifters, and when in reverse, you'll see backup cameras appear. The Mazda's resolution has improved a lot this year, and is now better than the Toyota's. But it also doesn't have active trajectory like the RAV4 does. Moving up the dashboard, both have dual-zone automatic climate controls, and they also have the upgraded sound systems. So let's go ahead and take a sample. Overall, they both sound quite nice and are roughly equivalent to my ears. But now let's start to unpack these infotainment systems, because they are very different from each other. So for 2021, Mazda has completely upgraded the infotainment to the latest Mazda software and screen. It now measures in at 10.25 inches and has higher resolution versus the 8-inch display in the RAV4. However, it's very important to note that it is no longer a touchscreen, so you'll have to use the control knob on the dash. That makes operation simpler in the Toyota. As far as the features, both of them have wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities, and neither of them have integrated navigation. Moving up from there, the RAV4 has a rear camera mirror system, and then finally, both of them will have regular sized moonroofs. Now heading around to the rear, the stuff back here is probably just as important as what's in the front, which is why I'm happy to report that both offer excellent dimensions for the class. The Mazda has the greater leg and headroom measurements, but it's less than a 5% difference, so it won't score a point. As far as the features back here, both have rear air vents as well as 2 charging USB ports, but only the CX-5 throws in seat heating at this price point. Moving out back, both have power tailgates, and once they open up, you'll find significantly more space in the Toyota than in the Mazda. With both configurations of seats, the RAV4 has over 15% more capacity. And lastly, the Mazda has a power passenger seat. Alright, so hitting the road with the RAV4 and CX-5 reveals some stark differences. The engines are the biggest difference, because the Mazda throws in its upgraded 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine with this trim. That gives it way more power and makes it way faster than the RAV4, which keeps the same 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder.
Yeah. Wow.
Every time I get behind the wheel of one of these things, I am impressed by the power. It just feels so much quicker than you expect that it's going to be, especially straight from the line with all that torque.
Wow.
Okay, so first taking off in this 2021 RAV4. You are going to have the same engine as last year, as you probably expect. So that's going to be a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, 203 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. So those are definitely numbers actually that are on the upper end of the segment, more than, you know, like the RAV4, Nissan Rogue, and many of the rivals. And you know, getting up to speed definitely does a good job. You can tell that this is a pretty peppy engine. It really gets you up to speed nicely. I already mentioned that both have all-wheel drive, but another part of the powertrain is also different, and that's the transmissions. The RAV4 has 8 gears compared to the Mazda 6-speed, and indeed it is the more responsive of the two. And it does continue to have the same 6-speed automatic transmission. As you just saw me demonstrate though, this is not a bad transmission even though it is down a few gears from the competition. When you put your foot down, it is nice and responsive. Part of that has to do with the fact that this comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. So if you've been shopping in this segment, you know that a great deal of competition comes with continuously variable transmissions. So having the traditional 8-speed on board, I think, is a benefit, not only in responsiveness, but just in everybody having a more traditional feel, which I think most people prefer having. Now, as far as other driving characteristics, both have nice ride quality and well-controlled dynamics. That being said, there is simply no beating the driving dynamics of the Mazda, which has amazing handling, A+ steering, and an overall composure that would embarrass more than a few German luxury SUVs. And let me tell you guys the biggest and most important thing to someone like us, the driving dynamics. As far as that's concerned, still number one. This class, some of them drive pretty well. Some of them are really not great to drive, but this one here is excellent to drive. You really forget that that brands can make a crossover drive this well. It feels just like the 3 and this Mazda 6. You have excellent body control, really nice tight chassis. The steering, best in class, has a lot of weight and heft, really quick responding. Just an absolute A+ in that regard. I do also want to mention that the Mazda is quieter at highway speed, though not by a big enough margin to score a point.
And it looks like we're going to be sitting around 55 decibels, which is certainly a very good figure. Looks like we're going to be sitting around 58 decibels.
And lastly, for fuel economy, the RAV4's normal engine gives it a big advantage over the CX-5's turbo. It gets about 17% better fuel economy combined. Plus, the Mazda requires premium fuel in order to get the full power figures. And that's it for this comparison. As you can see, the end result is quite close because each model has distinct advantages and disadvantages over the other. But the biggest thing to keep in mind when choosing between them boils down to this. If you value driving dynamics, speed, and luxury above the other aspects like utility, fuel economy, and storage, choose the Mazda. If you don't, then choose the RAV4. Anyway guys, thanks for joining us for this Car Confections comparison. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more comparisons, as well as our signature full review videos. Take care and stay safe.